Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Action and espionage. Brian Donlevy starring in an episode of Dangerous Assignment from the final season of the radio show. This was originally broadcast on March 25th, 1953, as Donlevy, Steve Mitchell, I should say, goes to Lisbon.
Dangerous Assignment. Transcribed starring Brian Donlevy as Steve Mitchell.
Yeah, danger is my assignment. I get sent to a lot of places I can't even pronounce. They all spell the same thing, though, trouble. But when I walk into the commissioner's office, I can't realize that this assignment's going to wind up with me trying to decide whether I'd rather get run over or shot. Morning, Commissioner. You sent for me?
Steve, I'm putting you on the trail of a young lady.
Hey, this must be my lucky day.
A very beautiful lady, I might add. Here's her picture.
This gets better as it goes along. Tell me more, Commissioner.
Her name is Antonina Aguirre. She entered the United States illegally after the war, was picked up by immigration officials a short time ago, and is now being sent back to Portugal. At the moment, she's on a boat in the mid-Atlantic bound for Lisbon.
So I'll be there when the boat docks, huh? Why?
You're to follow her, Steve. Find out what she's up to.
What makes you think she's up to anything?
Yesterday, the immigration department made a rather puzzling discovery, Steve. They learned that the anonymous tip they had received, the one that led to the girl's arrest, had been set up by the girl herself.
What?
We got to work on it right away and found out that she'd been seen on several occasions with a man named Louis Cortese, a man who has, from time to time, been connected with several subversive groups in this country. Get over there, Steve. Pick up Antonina Aguirre's trail when a boat docks in Lisbon and find out what this maneuver is all about. Well, that's it. You've got your assignment. Good luck.
The National Broadcasting Company is presenting Dangerous Assignment, starring Brian Donlevy in the role of Steve Mitchell, colorful two-fisted government agent. At all those places of the world where danger and intrigue walk hand in hand, there you will find Steve Mitchell on another Dangerous Assignment.
Sure, I've got my assignment. Get over to Portugal and meet a certain boat when it docks at Lisbon. All I have to do is keep my eye on a passenger named Antonina Aguirre and find out why she's had herself deported from the U.S. and what her tie-in is with subversive groups in this country. It's late Friday afternoon when my plane lands and I hustle over to the docks. The boat pulls in a couple of hours later. I wait around another 15 minutes and then I spot Antonina trotting down the gangway. Two representatives of the law meet her, and there's a brief conference. Papers are signed, and finally she's sent on her way. An hour later, she's aboard a northbound train rolling out of Lisbon. I'm in the same car, a few seats away.
Howdy, Pilgrim. Is this seat taken?
No, help yourself. Here, I'll move my coat.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Excuse me, I'll just put my bag up here on the rack and I step on your foot, neighbor? Mash your little piggies, did I? I'm sorry.
That's all right. Never use that foot anyway.
Sure does feel good to sit down, yes, sir. Am I crowding you, Pilgrim? A fat boy like me needs a lot of room, you know. Can I offer you a cigar?
Thanks, no.
Yes, sir. Always been a fat boy ever since I was knee-high to a stirrup back in Pertwee. Yeah. Only man I ever knew who was fatter postman in the old hometown. He lost his job on account of it.
Oh?
Oh, yes, he was a fat one. He was. On hot days, he'd perspire so much that the steam would unglue all the letters.
Oh, fine.
Yeah. My name's Jessup, Sam Jessup. I travel in silks.
Sounds real cooling.
Hey, look at that pretty little senorita over yonder. One with a pink bonnet.
Yeah, I've sort of had my eye on her, too.
You have? Well, I tell you what, Pilgrim, I'll toss you for it, huh?
No, you go ahead.
Well, there's the code of the traveling man, you know? You saw her first.
I'll sign a release. Go ahead. Start trolling.
That's right decent of you, neighbor. Well, here I go.
There's an empty seat next to Antonina, and Jessup plops into it. He goes into his pitch, but the girl isn't paying too much attention. Finally, it's easy to see she's getting annoyed, which is just how I figured it. I decide it's time to make my play, so I walk over to them. Pardon me, miss.
Yes?
Is this man annoying you?
Well, now, see here, Pilgrim.
Is he, miss?
Yes, senor. He is annoying me.
In that case, Buster, you'd better be on your way.
Well, by jingles, if I don't beat all, I never...
On your feet, Pilgrim.
Well, I've been Pearl Harbor, that's what. That's the sneakiest attack I ever did.
Sure. Now move on, huh? Move.
Code of the traveling man don't mean a thing anymore. Not a thing.
Thank you, senor. It was very kind of you. Sometimes these Americans... Oh, I am sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I have met so many very fine people in your country.
Oh, you've been to America?
Yes. I'm on my way home now. I come from Coimbra, a town to the north of here.
Got a little lonesome for the old sights and familiar faces, huh?
No, it is not that. My father has become ill. Someone should care for him. But you, senor, you have been here long?
No. Seems like I just stepped off the plane somehow. I'm here on business.
Well, tell me about it.
Well, I'd rather talk about the United States.
You've been to California? To Hollywood?
Hollywood, sure. Very good friend of mine lives there. Good old Darrell. Darrell Schwartz. He runs the meat market on Fairfax Avenue. Sweet fella. She wants to hear more about Hollywood, so I lean back and launch into a narrative that would have the California Chamber of Commerce drooling for a week. My narrative runs down about 10 miles later, and Antonina excuses herself to check on something in the baggage car.
Well, it's my Quisling friend, huh?
Oh, hello, Jessup.
Hey, you piling up points, huh? Getting along first rate with a little filly?
Looks that way. Not sore, are you?
Oh, I'm not one to hold a grudge, Pilgrim. As a matter of fact, I'm much obliged to you. Yes, sir, I admire your technique. I'm going to try it myself sometime. Let's say the little filly ain't getting off here, is she?
No, she just went back to the baggage room to, Hey, wait a minute. This isn't Coimbra we're pulling into, is it?
No, town up ahead's called Novantas.
Regular stop?
Well, not unless somebody wants off. Why?
Excuse me, Jessup. I want to check on something. I hurry through the train towards the baggage car, and when I get there, the train has grown to a stop. No sign of Antonina. I stick my head out the door and look down the tracks, and then I spot her running past the depot. I take off after her on the double. I lose sight of her as I sprint around the station platform. I'm pretty sure she's headed into town, so I do likewise. It's, well, after midnight, and the streets are deserted, all of which makes it easy for me to pick her up again. But it seems someone else has the same idea. A car up ahead suddenly sweeps around the corner. A gent jumps out and grabs Antonina.
Let me go. Please, let me go.
You'll hurt the lady, Buster. Let's go.
Look out, senor, a knife.
I'm doing my best to make him drop the stiletto and still keep an eye on Antonina, who is now starting to back away down the street. That's why I didn't notice the guy who slips up behind me and jumps on my back. We all land in a heap on the sidewalk. I'm just getting to my feet when a size 12 foot catches me under the chin. I topple back, crash through a wooden railing, and drop into somebody's cellar.
Senor? Senor?
Oh.
Senor, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Are you all right?
I think so. Ooh, my head.
Here, let me help you. Can you sit up?
Yeah. Thanks. Well, I certainly didn't expect to see you again so soon.
I got away from them, hid and came back.
Who were those gorillas?
The one in the car I've not seen before, but the other one I saw a few times in America. He works for a man named Cortese.
We already know quite a bit about Louis Cortese, Antonina.
You know my name?
Yeah, mine's Steve Mitchell. Here, better take a look at my credentials.
Oh, I see.
First of all, why did you set yourself up for deportation?
To get away from Cortese. The errands he forced me to do.
What sort of errands?
He came to see me at the office where I worked 2 months ago. He said he had known of me for some time, that I had entered the country illegally. He requested my cooperation.
And if you refused, you would tip off the immigration boys, huh?
I was frightened. I did not want to leave America, so I agreed to do what he asked.
And that was to run an errand?
Yes. He gave me an envelope. I was to deliver that envelope at 11 o'clock that night to a man who would be waiting on a street corner about 2 miles from my apartment. 2 days later, Cortese contacted me again. Another envelope, but a different street corner.
How many envelopes did you deliver?
2. The third one was stolen from me.
Stolen?
I'd never seen the man before. I was waiting at the corner one night when he jumped out of the shadows, ripped the purse out of my hands. I struggled with him, and then a passerby heard my cries and rushed up. The man got away. A few moments later, the police arrived.
I see. What did Cortese have to say about that?
Oh, he was furious. He questioned me for a long time. Wanted to know about the man who had come to my rescue, what his name was. He seemed to think the man was implicated.
What was this passerby's name, do you remember?
Yes, Eduardo Podesta.
About these envelopes you carried, did you ever look into them?
Yes, the last one. The envelope contained several X-rays.
X-rays? X-rays of what?
Teeth.
Teeth? Are you sure?
Positive.
Oh, brother. Just when all this was beginning to make sense, some guy has to shove his choppers into the act.
Steve Mitchell will continue his dangerous assignment in just a moment.
A meaty episode of Dangerous Assignment starring Brian Donlevy from March 25th, 1953. It's truly an episode that you can sink your teeth into. And we'll have more of Brian Donlevy in Dangerous Assignment when Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox continues following these important messages.
Are you suffering with arthritis or osteoporosis? Do you have diabetes? Did you know that these are just 2 of the hundreds of diseases that have seen improvement with Dr. Wallach's incredible longevity products? You can't get them at a health food store. The only way to get them is to call us at 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065. Do you have heart disease, fibromyalgia, or high blood pressure? Do you have a terrible time losing weight? Dr. Wallach can help. He was a veterinarian and cured diseases in animals. He felt that he could do the same for humans, so he became a physician. Over 50 years of research and helping people like you goes into every bottle of Dr. Wallach's amazing discoveries. Do you want to feel better? Learn how to treat the cause of your problem rather than covering up the symptoms with drugs. Call 800-214-0065. That's 800-214-0065.
Thank you for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite station. Now more of Dangerous Assignment starring Brian Donlevy, and it's something that has to deal with teeth. We'll see. This episode originally broadcast March 25th, 1953.
Now back to Dangerous Assignment and Brian Donlevy as Steve Mitchell.
Hold it.
They're coming back for us.
Look, get up the stairs, then out to their car and wait. They'll probably come down the outside stairs.
All right, but how about you?
I'll think of... Wait, here's an empty wine bottle. Go on, hurry.
Be careful, Steve. Be careful.
Yeah. Hold it, Buster. Feel my gun in your back.
See?
Blow you wide open if you try anything now. Drop your gun, quick. Kick it to one side. Okay, now call your buddy. Tell him to get down here. You heard me call him.
Rodriguez! Sí? ¿Cuál es it? Come down here.
What is it, Jose? You told me to stay in the car.
It's a trap.
What?
You're so right.
You have no gun. It is a bottle.
Sure is. Have a drink.
Hurry, Steve, hurry!
Okay, let's go. We take a few assorted back streets out of the village, then head for Tony's hometown, Coimbra. It's morning when we arrive. She directs me to the house of her Uncle Sebastian. It's quite a layout. He's apparently the money man of the family, and he's been taking care of her sick father.
Ah, Tony, it's so good to see you.
Papa is better.
Of course. He's gotten the best of care.
I do not know how to thank you.
For my own brother, I need thanks? No, Tony. I'm the one to say thanks to Senior Mitchell for getting you home to us.
Well, as long as things are pretty much in order on this end, I think I'd better be getting along.
What? No, I insist you join the family for breakfast. You have met none of them.
Thanks, but I want to talk to the authorities. Could you tell me where the police station is, Sebastian?
Of course. It's on the south side of the plaza in the center of town. Police Captain Rios in charge.
You say that Antonina actually arranged for her own deportation back here to Portugal?
That's right, Captain Rios. She figured she might as well. The outfit which was using her kept holding it over her head, and she didn't want to do any more of their dirty work for them.
Yes. But I do not understand why this envelope they give her to deliver contained dental x-rays.
You and me both, Captain. Also, I don't understand why they tried to grab her back in that village.
Well, in any event, you have delivered her safely home now. Your job is finished.
I'm afraid not, Captain Rios. I've got to find out what's behind all this. You see, we know that the gent bossing the deal is head of a recognized subversive group back in the United States. Now, my job is to find out what he's up to.
I see. What will be your next step, then?
There you've got me. They probably won't try to grab her again as long as she's with the rest of her family at her Uncle Sebastian's. Wait a minute. Maybe that's the answer.
What is?
Captain, if Tony and her uncle will cooperate, I'd like to set up a little trap.
What you suggest may endanger Tony's life.
I don't think so, Sebastian. Look, Captain Rios has arranged for an empty apartment in town. There's a garage in the basement, and he and a police sergeant are waiting in the apartment.
The plan is for you to take me there?
Yeah, real conspicuous-like, so anybody can follow us. Once inside, the police sergeant takes you down the back stairs to the basement and drives you back here. I'll leave by the front entrance and then double around the block and in the back. Rios and I'll wait in the apartment and see who turns up.
I don't know. Tony is safe here with her family. To help you in your plan, she might not be safe.
Look, Sebastian, this is our best chance of luring this outfit into the open so we can grab them, find out what's behind it, and put them out of business. Tony won't really be safe until we do.
But,
Please, Uncle Sebastian, I am willing.
Yeah, very well. You have my permission.
It's nightfall when I drive Tony to the apartment. Captain Rios and the sergeant are waiting inside in the dark. We turn on the lights, and Tony walks back and forth in front of the window a couple of times. Then the sergeant sneaks her down the back stairs. I leave by the front and double around the block to the back. Rios and I wait. Pretty soon we hear steps in the hall. Someone fumbling at the door. We jerk it open.
Mitchell, it's my sergeant.
Hey, he's been beat up. Our plan's gone cockeyed.
And they've got the girl.
We head for the police station and throw out a dragnet. Then half an hour later...
Hello, Steve.
Tony.
Are you all right?
Yes.
What happened?
When the sergeant took me to the basement, he was attacked suddenly. A man grabbed him and forced me into the car. He drove me to an alley and questioned me. Then he released me.
What?
Yes, just like that.
What did he ask you?
He wanted to know how much I had told the police. I said I had told them it was dental x-rays in the envelope I was to deliver back to the United States. And then he told me to get out of the car and drove off.
Oh. Well, Mitchell, what do you make of that? Huh?
The only thing I make of it is that I'm more in the dark than ever. At this point, it looks like the outfit I'm bucking is pretty sure of itself. I decide to put through a transatlantic phone call to the commissioner back in the States. I sure am, Commissioner. Cortez's outfit's up to something, but I don't know what. It doesn't make sense. They make Tony deliver an envelope of dental x-rays to a guy on a street corner.
Dental x-rays?
That's right. On her way, a guy tries to grab the envelope. A passerby comes to her rescue. A guy named Podesta, I think. Yeah, Eduardo Podesta. She continues on her way and delivers...
Wait a minute. This passerby. Did you say Eduardo Podesta?
Yeah. Why? The name ring a bell?
A fire alarm. A very important Italian diplomat has spent 3 weeks in this country incognito for some secret talks. He's been traveling under the name Eduardo Podesta.
Oh, brother, where is he now?
En route back to Europe. As a matter of fact, his plane's due at Lisbon in less than an hour. From there, he'll continue by boat to Italy.
Commissioner, this deal just started adding up at last. I'll check with you later. How fast can I get to Lisbon, Captain Rios?
The Army can fly you there in about 40 minutes.
Good.
Sergeant, get me Colonel Menta on the telephone, please. And now, Mitchell, suppose you tell me what this is all about, huh?
The dental x-rays were just a smokescreen. The whole deal was rigged so they could find out the name an Italian diplomat was traveling under. That way they could find out what plane he was on and grab him on the way home.
You mean they had one of their own men arranged to attack her when Podesta was in the vicinity?
Sure. He must have had a habit of taking walks at night. Their timing was perfect. He gave his name to the policeman. Tony overheard it. And later, when they questioned her, she told them the name. Now they're probably waiting in Lisbon for his plane to land. But you know something? They're going to have company. On our plane to Lisbon, we radio ahead and start the ball rolling. By the time we get there, everything's in order, according to Colonel Menta, who's in charge of the arrangements.
March 25th, 1953, Dangerous Assignment on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
No offense, but are you a little fat when you look in the mirror? How would you like to learn the secrets to lose 3 to 5 pounds a week easily without joining the gym or going through any crazy diets? It's called Body Sculpt by Med Diet. For the last 2 decades, we've been helping people just like you that have pounds they want to shed. We've helped millions of people lose thousands and thousands of pounds over the years. And now it's your turn. Learn the secrets of how to lose weight with one simple phone call. You'll see an amazing difference in a matter of days. Don't believe us? We'll offer you a money-back guarantee. If you're ready to start losing weight right now, call right now to learn more about your risk-free order to Body Sculpt.
Call for your risk-free offer. 800-738-5332. 800-738-5332. 800-738-5332. That's 800-738-5332.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of Dangerous Assignment starring Brian Donlevy from March 25th, 1953, as Steve Mitchell is about to get some instructions that he needs to know.
The civilian plane carrying Podesta is landing now. He has been alerted by radio. That black sedan will pick him up at the plane, then drive into the tree-lined road at the edge of the field. You will be waiting there. You will take Podesta's place in the car. I will pick up Podesta. You and your driver will be armed. The rest is up to you.
I go over to the tree-lined road. So far, everything's just dandy. That is, until I feel a gun barrel in my back.
Stand still, Mitchell.
What? Uncle Sebastian?
Yes.
So you're the ringleader. Sure, that explains how the outfit knew that Tony was an illegal entry. You tipped them off so they could use her.
Exactly.
Some uncle.
That should be Podesta's car approaching now. Step out and flag it down. I want his briefcase. That will tell us what went on in those secret talks. Move.
Sebastian stays in the trees, his gun pointed at me. I step out onto the road. The driver sees me and slows down. Suddenly, I motion him on.
Stop it. Keep going.
The car roars ahead. I dive across the road in front of it just in time. Sebastian's taken by surprise. After it roars by, he runs out onto the road, and I meet him halfway.
Mitchell,
I'll take the gun. Thanks. Well, Sebastian, looks like you and your buddies just aren't going to get a peek at that little briefcase.
You fool. To throw yourself across in front of an automobile that way.
That's nothing. Back home, we've got thousands of people who can do that.
A nation of madmen.
Could be, but we call them pedestrians.
Our star, Brian Donlevy, will return in just a moment. That a child may walk, that a soldier may live. That is the promise a pint of blood holds today, for gamma globulin and serum albumin are both products of a single blood donation. Gamma globulin, GG, is the medicine which prevents the crippling effects of polio, and serum albumin is the medicine used on the battlefield to sustain life in the wounded. These two miracle medicines are derivatives of our blood, but the process of extracting them is expensive. Your Red Cross has increased its budget this year to finance the project. So, parents, when you contribute to the 1953 Red Cross Fund appeal, remember the boys in Korea, the child in your own home and the child across the street, and give generously, won't you? And mothers, perhaps you can encourage others to give, that a child may walk, that a soldier may live. Answer the call. Contribute generously to the 1953 Red Cross Fund appeal.
Next week, the Caribbean. A race that turns into a dead heat.
And that will be Steve Mitchell's dangerous assignment next week. Featured in tonight's cast were Bill Conrad, Virginia Gregg, Harry Bartell, Tony Barrett, Ralph Moody, John Storm speaking. Dangerous Assignment, starring Brian Donlevy as Steve Mitchell with Herb Butterfield as the commissioner, is written by Bob Reif and Adrian John Doe and is directed by Bill Karn. Be with us again next week at this time when Brian Donlevy, starring in the role of Steve Mitchell, will embark on another transcribed Dangerous Assignment.
March 25th, 1953, Dangerous Assignment on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Are you in bad pain? You know what I mean. Your knees hurt. Your shoulder hurts. Your elbow and back are constantly killing you. And I'm sure you've tried every pain pill or cream available at the drugstore. Am I right? Well, here's something you haven't tried. Pain Magic. Pain Magic is not available at any drugstore. The only place you can get it is by calling the special toll-free number I'm about to give you.
And to make things even better, call right now and find out about our buy one, get one free offer. We're so confident it'll work for you that we offer a free bottle with your purchase. No prescription required.
Call now to learn how you can get Pain Magic and get rid of your pain. Remember, your results may vary.
800-492-8164. 800-492-8164. 800-492-8164. That's 800-492-8164.
Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, another episode of the soap opera Claudia, as it was originally broadcast March 25th, 1948.
Your Coca-Cola bottler presents Claudia, based on the play and novels by Rose Franken. Brought to you, transcribed Monday through Friday, by your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. Relax, and while you're listening, refresh yourself. Have a Coke. And now, Claudia.
Down, 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 down.
Claudia! I'll be there in a minute, Mama. Please sit down.
Claudia, I'm not staying. I'm going home, as you very well know.
You can't go home and leave me alone.
I have no intention of coming between you and your interior decorator. What do you think I am? Just another roll of wallpaper to be stuck up anywhere you two want?
We two don't want anything. I haven't even met my interior decorator.
I'm sure you'll get along fine, and I'd just be in the way.
Mommy, you can't go. How are you going to tell him that I don't want him?
How am I going to tell him? What makes you think I'd do such a thing?
But I don't want him.
That's your privilege, but not my responsibility. If you don't want him, and I must say I think you're rather foolish not to, just tell him.
I know, Mama, but how?
Well, I could make a few suggestions. You stand where you're standing, and I'll stand where I'm standing, and I'll be the interior decorator. And you say to me, I'm sorry,
Mr. Hillary.
Mr. Hillary, I'm sorry, but just right now, at present, I have no need for your services. And if in the future I do want you, I'll call you up. And then, as Mr. Hillary, I put on my coat and I leave.
Mommy, you can't leave now. I won't let you. And that was a dirty trick.
A dirty trick? You asked for a demonstration.
Now, be serious, Mrs. Brown. How can I tell him that we don't want an interior decorator?
I suppose there's a good reason why you can't say just that.
Don't you understand? Julia told him we did want him.
Does that make a difference?
Of course it makes a difference.
Well, I can see this is so complicated that I'm of no possible help to you. I'm going home to feed my parrot.
Oh, I wish we'd never given you that parrot. Every time you have to do something you don't want to do, you suddenly start thinking about him. He's a perfect alibi.
Well, I'm tired of being your perfect alibi. Besides, I think maybe you ought to have an interior decorator.
Now you sound more like Julia.
Because I think you ought to have somebody help you. And I know David will want you to.
You don't know David at all. He'll feel just the way I do.
And the arrival of your friend, Mr. Hillary, isn't going to delay me more than 1 minute.
Please, Mama, when you tell Mr. Hillary we don't want him, please try to be polite.
Mrs. Norton, I presume? Mrs. David Norton?
Yes, I'm Mrs. Norton, and I bet you're Mr. Hillary.
I trust your wages are always so successful, Mrs. Norton. I am he, indeed.
You're sure it isn't him?
I beg your pardon.
No, I guess you'd know, wouldn't you?
I'm not quite sure. I understand.
Mr. Hillary, this is my mother, Mrs. Brown. She was just coming.
How do you do, Mrs. Brown?
How do you do, Mr. Hillary? I'm afraid my daughter's a trifle confused. She meant to say that I'm just going, but I'm glad to have had this chance to meet you. I'm taking dinner to a cranky friend. I'll see you tomorrow, dear.
Oh, it'll only take a moment, Mrs. Brown. Only a few sketches.
Well, that appears to be rather a large folder, Mr. Hillary.
Oh, I did bring a few renderings I made for some of my other country clients. The Riddles and the Fröhlingheisens and the Pines.
I'd love to see them some other time. Goodbye, Mr. Hillary. Goodbye, Claudia.
Well, Mrs. Norton, so this is your town place.
It isn't very big, is it?
Oh, I'm sure you'll be much more comfortable in your new home in Eastbrook. On the River Road, did Mrs. Hartley Norton say?
Yes, it is.
Delightful part of the world. Did a little place up that way last year for Ethan Fröhlingheisen. 32 rooms.
32 rooms?
Oh, but some of them were quite small.
Well, I'm afraid our house isn't like that at all.
Your sister-in-law's described it to me. That's what enabled me to make the sketches.
Oh, you've made them already?
Just a hint of what I'd like to do with this place. I've been screaming to do something like this for years, but my friends insist on settling in such vast and chilly places that I haven't had the chance to try it.
You mean you know it's a little place?
My dear, I understand it's minuscule.
It's what?
Minuscule. It's tiny, compact, charming.
Oh.
Oh, indeed, yes. And I want you to look at these drawings merely as a suggestion, a hazard, a guess, a mere intuition of the final result.
Oh.
The final result will always astound you, Mrs. Norton, because once my client has given me an insight into her requirement, I am adamant.
You're what?
I forbid my ladies to enter my establishment from the day I'm engaged. The final responsibility is mine. I want no watering down of my conception, no haggling, no interference. You must trust completely, Mrs. Norton. Will you trust me?
Well, I don't know what to say. I mean, do I have to trust you now? It's getting awfully late, Mr. Hillary. Couldn't we do this some other time? My husband is...
Oh, husbands. They're the natural peril of my craft, Mrs. Norton. But I anticipate them. Every Hillary house has one husband room, indestructible, leathery, designed like an old shoe.
My husband likes old pipes better.
Hello. It's me.
David, you're home.
So are you. Isn't that nice?
So is Mr. Hillary.
Oh, is this Mr. Hillary? You might as well introduce us.
I'm Channing Hillary.
I'm David Norton.
How do you do, Mr. Norton?
How do you do?
I was just about to show Mrs. Norton several suggestions of a shadow of an idea that crossed my mind for your new home in Eastbrook.
You mean you're thinking of decorating our house?
Your sister-in-law, Mrs. Hartley Norton, suggested that I might be interested.
Oh.
Mr. Norton, and speaking quite frankly, I rose to the idea like a salmon.
Well, I didn't know that Claudia, my wife, had considered having a decorator.
My dear Mr. Norton, it's the sort of thing one really doesn't have to consider any more than one would have to consider calling the doctor in the event of pneumonia.
David, I meant to...
You don't have to apologize, Claudia. As a matter of fact, I was going to suggest it, but I didn't know how you would like the idea.
Darling, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance. I mean... It isn't my idea. David, you're a traitor. I thought you'd agree with me.
I am not a traitor. I've just been a little worried about your going out and roaming from shop to shop, picking up wallpaper and slipcovers. I don't think you ought to do things like that just now.
But, David, I like bargains.
Mr. Norton, I forbid my ladies to enter a shop. Does Heifetz allow his audience to set his tempos? Or will Helen Hayes permit prompting from the seventh row?
As a husband, I applaud you. As an architect, I envy you.
My dear Mr. Norton, it's really a question of temperament. I terrorize my clientele.
You do?
I've been known to dash rare china to the floor to silence a client's conversation.
Well, I've often wanted to do that with one of my clients' factories.
Once we've agreed on a master plan, I want nothing from the householder but money.
Well, I think this is going to work out just fine. Claudia, why don't we look at Mr. Hillary's sketches?
You mean you really want to do it this way, David?
Under the circumstances, I think it's a fine idea. What are we waiting for?
You don't want me to go around and pick up things and go shopping or anything?
Well, darling, I don't mean that you wouldn't do it beautifully. I mean with the baby and moving, I think it's a little too much for you.
You're sure you don't mean that I wouldn't do it the way you want it?
Mr. Hillary, darling, is known as one of the best decorators in New York.
My dear Mr. Norton, I've worked also in Florida, Chicago, Kentucky, and California.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Hillary. Let me amend that. He is one of the finest, if not the finest decorator in the country. But, darling, I'd rather live in a house that you decorated any time. That is, any other time.
You mean that, David?
I do, and I don't think Mr. Hillary will fail to understand that.
Rather not.
Well, I think it's going to be wonderful to have Mr. Hillary do the decorating then, because there were some things that I really didn't know what to do about.
Aha, problems. I thrive on problems.
Well, I'm thinking about the turkeys. You know, David, if we're going to raise turkeys behind the kitchen stove...
Turkeys behind the kitchen stove?
Well, we may, mayn't we? And I know they're going to run into the dining room and the living room. And I don't know what Mr. Hillary can do for carpets with turkeys pecking on them.
That is rather an unusual problem.
And then there's that terrible leak in the ceiling over the living room that we can't do anything about.
What leak is that?
Darling, we have to be frank with Mr. Hillary. Don't we, Mr. Hillary?
Frankness is an essential.
And then there's a cowshed right next to the dining room. I don't know what he's going to do about that. And the Victorian annex that Gerard Tucker's uncle built in 1870?
Yes, but he built it very well. It fits right in with the rest of the house.
Oh, I know, but I wonder how Mr. Hillary feels about the mixture of colonial and Victorian.
Well, the combination is somewhat less happy than tea and scones, or as you would say, scones.
No, I think I would say hot biscuits. Mr. Hillary, for the first 3 weeks we had the house, I don't think my wife even noticed it, the combination, I mean.
And then how are we going to fix up the guest room so the farmer and his wife can live there, if we can find a couple?
But we haven't found a couple yet.
Oh, I know, but we still would have to have Mr. Hillary design some kind of a compromise. How do you feel about compromises, Mr. Hillary?
I detest them.
But, really, it isn't as bad as, in fact, I don't know.
Then I do want more dogs, David, and I insist upon keeping them in the house. In the living room.
Oh, my. Poodles, I trust.
Great Danes.
When Mrs. Hartley Norton described the place to me, I don't think she quite realized.
And then we've got to have furniture that the children won't hurt, drapes that the cats can't scratch, upholstery that the dogs can sit on, rugs that the turkeys won't hurt, tables that the chickens won't hurt, chairs that the cows won't break, and what are we going to do about the room without windows?
I'm afraid there's been something of a misunderstanding.
There has?
No wonder there has. Mr. Hillary heard a picture of this place, and I'm
Mr.
sure
Norton, allow me to interrupt you, sir. A little frankness at this stage of the proceedings is a very valuable commodity. Your sister-in-law has seriously misinformed me. You don't need an interior decorator. Turkeys, chickens, Great Danes, cows, children, mid-Victorians. Mrs. Norton, you don't need a decorator. What you need is an animal tamer. I bid you good afternoon.
But, Mr. Hillary...
He certainly is temperamental, isn't he?
Temperamental? After the things you said about our house. Whatever made you talk that way? I'll call him back tomorrow, and maybe we can get him to work for us.
David.
Now what?
Come here. Darling, did you mean it when you said you'd rather live in a place that I decorated?
Of course I did. But I don't want you to have all the trouble right now. You are a little minx.
Me? A minx?
I knew what you were doing. You were getting your rival decorator out of the way.
Because, David, I'm not always going to be having a baby. And just till I can really get it furnished, you wouldn't mind camping out with me on a couple of kitchen chairs and an old table?
I'd camp out with you without chairs. Even if we had to eat off the mantel.
And then we'll have so much fun decorating it ourselves later on.
Darling, if that's what you want, just bring on your mantel.
I won't have to, darling, because I know where I can get 2 marvelous kitchen chairs to start out with. And, David, they're real bargains.
Oh, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do.
Delicacies and special tidbits may be hard to come by these days, but there's one special treat that's more plentiful, and it hasn't gone up in price either. I'm referring, as you may have guessed, to Coca-Cola, which still brings you the pause that refreshes for only 5 cents. Your grocer or service station attendant will be glad to put a case in the car for you. And there are always willing hands to unload that welcome refreshment when you get home.
Hello, Mr. King.
Yes, Mrs. Brown?
Well, I guess Claudia managed to get what she wanted again without hurting anybody's feelings.
Oh, that daughter of yours seems to have a way of making things come out the way she wants them to.
I wish there was some way she could make us get rid of these cold days.
It's been a bad winter, Mrs. Brown. But I can tell you that your daughter will end it tomorrow with a little help from a man named Giuseppe. Between the two of them, spring weather will be here tomorrow.
Just in time for Easter. Well, thanks, Mr. King. I hope you'll recognize me in my new spring hat.
Oh, I'll recognize you anywhere, Mrs. Brown. Well, goodbye. And as I was about to say, every day, Monday through Friday, Claudia comes to you, transcribed, with the best wishes of your friendly neighbor who bottles Coca-Cola. So listen again tomorrow at the same time. And now this is Joe King saying au revoir. And remember, whoever you are, whatever you do, wherever you may be, when you think of refreshment, think of Coca-Cola. For ice-cold Coca-Cola makes any pause the pause that refreshes. This broadcast of Claudia was supervised and directed by William Brown Maloney.
From March 25th, 1948, Claudia on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
Our religious institutions are strongholds of the American way of life. Our country was founded by men who had faith in God and who were willing to endure hardship and sacrifice for the sake of that faith. Today, the religious institutions in your community need your interest and support, so take an active part in religious affairs. Your pastor, rabbi, or priest will give you invaluable family counsel and aid if you are a newcomer to the community. To face the problems of the future, America must be morally strong. And that moral strength comes through worship and faith. Go to church this week and take someone with you.
Thank you so much for joining us here, and I hope you'll tell all your friends about Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox being here on your favorite station. But most importantly, I hope you will thank this station and support their advertisers. It is their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time you hear us here. It is very important that you let them know. The advertisers pay the bills to keep this radio station on the air, and the radio station picks us up. They got lots of choices. We are so glad they do it. Thank them, won't you please? Also, if you have a moment, we hope if you miss a day, by the way, on this station, you do not have to miss a single episode of Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. They're available through iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Amazon. Just search for Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. That's Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. And by the way, we do have a web page. That's classicradio.stream. You can hear our shows there as well. You can also learn more about building a classic radio collection of your own, and you can contact me there too. You also find all of our social media links. classicradio.stream. That's classicradio.stream. Have a great day, won't you please? Tell all your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.